everybody, Voodoo here. So today I want to do a little, kind of just a spit, just like a little short little rant about hero talents. I'm currently away on vacation if you're watching this when it came out, so nothing super current, but I did want to just talk about if hero talents really were needed. So make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and let's just get into yapping a bit. All right, so for those of you out of the loop, not really paying attention, I don't know where you've been for the past, what is it now? It's about the end of July, so I don't know, past 4, 5, 6 months during the entire alpha beta cycle. Hero talents are these things. They're little things that each spec has access to. Most classes have 3, druids have 4, demon hunters have 2. Now, the reasoning behind these is that they're little extra things. They're supposed to help you dive into class and spec fantasy, right? Like how we have them here for Eldrazi Reaver and Felskard for Demon Hunter. Eldrazi Reaver is like a soul glaive master thing. The Eldrazi warriors were the ultimate glaive masters and wielded their blades with deadly grace, consuming souls and giving them weapons with greater power, which does fit with Eldrazi lore. And the other one is Felskard, which, you know, you just embrace their inner demon and amplify the power of the Felfire they wield. So they're lore specific tie-ins. They're very railroady, which is pretty good for balance, and they don't offer a ton of choice. Realistically, all they are is like a bunch of talents here. I think 11 talent points, normally 3 choices, sometimes 2 choices, very rarely more than that, and only realistically 1 choice for DPS. So if you look at Eldrazi here, utility choice node, defensive choice node, DPS choice node, and same with Felskard. Utility, survivability, DPS. Most trees follow that. Some of them have like 2 DPS or 2 survivability, but for the most part you'll find them like this. What they're supposed to do is hook in and be pretty passive to your spec, not take control of things too much, maybe add a little bit of extra gameplay elements in a pretty passive and fun way so your spec can truly shine, and give some fun visuals and make you really feel like what you're doing. Now the issue comes in is that not a lot of specs actually got that. Now, some of the ones that did get that, they got really fun hero talent trees that amplify the gameplay in a good way, or don't get in the way of the gameplay too much, but just look super visually appealing. There's about 2 or 3 hero talent trees for every one of those that either is horrible gameplay wise, or just very bad in terms of visuals. Take both of these trees. Both of them are terrible in terms of visuals. In fact, Eldrazi Reaver is actually both. It's really visually bad and very bad to play with. Felskard, fine to play with, kind of boring, wish it had a little tiny bit more to it, but the visuals also really suck. So I'll just show you these visuals as an example, because later on in the video I will show you a cool one. So this is what Reavers gets. If I hunt in here, I have this little extra glaive, and we'll go over to this tree over here so you guys can see it better. Whenever I throw it, it's going to be a purple glaive. There you go, and then that's a regular glaive right there. So that's the only difference for Reaver. For Felskard, the change is also pretty minor. I'm in combat, so we can't change it. But for Felskard, it's also very, very minor. Basically, what you get is a little tiny fart around you of Fel. Now, I don't want to say this is the trend or the realistic thing for every single tree. So again, let me just go in here. I'm going to I-beam, and boop. There you go, that's the visual. That's all you get. You can hit meta and you'll have new icons for stuff, but they have the same animations and just have the little extra explosions afterwards. So that's kind of what Havoc got. A lot of other classes are in similar boats. I think all the rogue ones are pretty visually unimpactful. Some of the hunter ones, I think most of the hunter ones are visually unimpactful. The warrior ones are visually unimpactful. A lot of the mage classes, or range specs, sorry, warlocks, mages, shadow priests are all pretty happy, and they're all very visually appealing, which is like pretty nice. But a lot of the melee specs just kind of didn't get them, which sucks, right? Like, it's the main point of the expansion. If you came into Legion and the artifact weapons did nothing and they weren't visually impactful and they basically didn't work, that would be disappointing. But here we are with hero talents where half of them are just essentially unimpactful and essentially visually disappointing, which really sucks. Now, that's all well and good, but other issues kind of compound on that, right? There's the issue of choice. Now, I know this isn't true for every spec, but I'm sure there's multiple where it's like this. For Havoc right now, and this is before buffs, there could have been buffs that happened since I've recorded this. I'm recording in advance because I'm away. But Eldrazi Reaver is like 30 to 40% ahead of Felskard. Felskard can do some burst AoE damage. It's good at that niche, but its single target is so bad. Its sustained DPS is so bad. Eldrazi Reaver is just better in every single way. Now, I'm sure that's echoed in a lot of other specs. Off the top of my head, I can't name you any because I'm not as deep in a bunch of other specs. I guess Survival, actually, Sentinel is so far ahead of Pack Leader, there's just like no point in taking it. which is basically the same thing here, Eldrazi Reaver. There's no choice to it. If you wanted to go with the visuals of Fellscard, right, which is always going to be a problem in WoW, but Fellscard is 40% behind Eldrazi Reaver in terms of DPS, and you care about your performance at all, and I'll give that. Not everybody cares, right? There are some players in normal guilds and low-end heroic guilds who just do maybe +5s, +8s at the maximum, who can do whatever they want and it'll be fine. But for a lot of other players who care about the performance or who need to have good performance in order to keep a raid spot, in order to do the highest keys, you don't have that cosmetic choice, right? You basically are locked into whatever's strongest, and that's going to be an issue forever. But the idea is that hopefully some of them are close, right? Like if there was a choice, maybe Fellscard's 5% better at this, but a little bit worse at this, like better in AoE, but slightly worse in single target. And Reaver is slightly better in single target, but slightly worse in AoE. So there's a trade-off, there's a choice there. There's no clear one answer. That would be perfect. That would be wonderful. That'd be great. But a lot of trees just don't have that. A lot of trees just have one option is the clear answer, and one of them is not, which is not very good. And on top of that, the other point of just rotationally impact, right? Some of the trees like Fellscard and a lot of other trees, right? Sentinel for Hunter, again, is going to be one I bring up. It's another spec I play pretty heavily. Very, very passive, not really that impactful. Some of them work really well. A lot of the Warlock ones, Diabolist, which I'll show in a second, the Mage ones, all work pretty well. Then you have stuff like Eldrazi Reaver and some of the Rogue specs, where the rotation turns into just the tree itself, just the hero talent tree, which is miserable. The issue with adding things like this is that when you add them to specs, sometimes it causes like a bit of an overbalance. For Havoc, for example, Reaver is played in two ways. You have a no mover build like this, or a mover build which features, I don't even know if I have one right now, or a mover build which features stuff like Unbound Chaos and Inertia. Now the issue with those is that with this build here, this build is focused around entirely just keeping the tree as the main focus. You're not playing Havoc, you're playing Eldrazi Reaver, and the gameplay is very simple, which is fine. If we swap all these talent points out and grab stuff for the other tree, if I can remember it off of the top of my head, which I should be able to do here, it'd be something similar to this, not exactly the same, but similar. I think, yeah, probably looking like that. This is the other build. This is the Inertia build. And on these builds, there's actually too much. The complexity is actually so great already that by adding another step to it, you have significantly more cognitive load. So that way, you actually just end up with a mess of a tree that's not very fun to play. So that's kind of the third thing, right? It's like a lot of them just aren't very fun to play. And a lot of them are great, but the ones that aren't are really bad. And we're at the point now in the expansion, at least in development, where they're in crunch and they're doing tuning and they're doing bug fixes and things aren't going to change. So if you're a spec where your tree is kind of left off the boat, where you're left off of the train, so to speak, Totemic Shaman, both Demon Hunter ones, I think all three Rogue ones, Pack Leader, Survival Hunter, those trees are just kind of dead on the water. They can be buffed and fixed to be at least options, but the playstyles, the animations, the feel for them is just dead. Which sucks, right? They're basically shipping this thing that's half-baked and not great for certain specs, but for some specs it's wonderful and positive. So it really makes me ask, like, did we really need stuff like this? Like, could they not have just added a few extra talents to the tree, maybe given us a few more points? Nothing crazy, because then you would kind of spiral out of control. Like, these are going to be around for a long time, and obviously they have tons of time to fix them, but it's definitely concerning right now, at least here on the about a month before release, where they are in balance, where they are in design, where they are in gameplay for a lot of specs. It really throws up a warning, really throws up a flag, and it's like, would it not have just been better to throw on something else or give us a different system that's a little easier? Because right now, we're kind of in a bit of a Shadowlands mixture where people are forced into choices that should be cosmetic but are very DPS focused. But those choices aren't even super fun, and there's no way of opting out of them, right? Like, you can't not play these. So we're in a weird spot. Now, it's not all doom and gloom. We'll swap over to Fire Mage and Warlocks. I want to show some cool ones, but yeah, I don't know. Definitely not the best place to be in. We are on Shadow Priest, one of the beneficiaries, and they have a very simple passive tree. You rip open a void, basically a black hole with Void Torrent, and just have an extra void stuff, and have a little bit extra gameplay inside your windows, but doesn't actually change stuff too much. So we go in here and we just kind of do our little Shadow Priest opener. We rip open a black hole and are much more void, and our Mind Blast is replaced with Void Blast. Like, look how cool this is. This is sick, right? It's very Shadow Priesty. You have a lot of cosmic entity things to it. Yourself looks different. There's a massive black hole, and you have extra little animations on your Mind Blast. That's what it needs. Simple gameplay, little extra benefits, and visually impactful. What we have in a lot of trees is not that. One more example of a cool tree, we come to Fire Mage, which just gets to beat Kael'thas and summon the Phoenix. They get these little Spellfire orbs, and whenever they spend a ton of them or push their main cooldown, like Combustion, they summon a Phoenix. And the Phoenix is literally just going to, like, cast spells. Look, it's just casting spells. Like, I don't know. If that's not cool, I don't know what is. There's just a Phoenix. And when the Phoenix goes away, you can just kind of machine gun. Oh, I disabled add-ons, but you can just machine gun Pyroblast. I don't know. It's just way cooler than anything Havoc has, which is great. But you know, there's a lot of specs that just kind of get shafted behind and just don't really get anything cool. That's kind of where we're at. We're at a point where they don't really make a ton of sense. I don't know. I'm not really sure if we needed them. A lot of people and specs and stuff are just being left behind, and it makes for a bad experience. So hopefully good things come, but yeah, that's what it is. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think on hero talents in general, and see you guys next time. Peace. A big thank you to all of my channel members. Thank you Sky Elk, Andrew Keenel, 100,001 Zans, Brad Wisniak, Felfa Darren Dark Terror, and Magic Man 133. Thank you all so much. If you want to help support me and help fund the channels and the videos, follow the link in the description to become a channel member and get some cool perks in the process. Again, thank you all so much, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.